Well, hey there. Good morning, fellow gardeners. Welcome to Garden America. Yes, the weekend has officially kicked off because it's Garden America time. We hope you had a good week. The boys are here. John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. I'm Brian Main. Welcome, one and all. We've got a great show lined up for you today. A great guest. It's going to be a good time. We do welcome your questions, your comments right there on our Facebook page. Those on Biz Talk Radio, welcome. This is last week's show. John is ready to go.
He's got double the show happening.
Double the show happening with our show coming through his iPhone. But we have everything technically ready to go. Right, Tiger? Technically?
Technically, we are ready.
Technically,
mentally,
we're ready to go.
We're in a different state.
Mentally is a different story, but perhaps by the end of the show, John.
You mentioned fellow. Is fellow inclusive? Can it be men and women?
Why not? You know what? These days, anything goes.
Because if you're a teaching fellow, what would be the opposite?
Teaching fellow.
Was it gals? Teaching gals? No, that,
I'm not
that
sure.
can't be correct.
I'm not sure gals flies anymore. Does it?
Gal?
The gals are going out for lunch?
I don't know.
Fellow, though.
See, maybe some gals.
Fellow could be
let us know.
Anyone, right?
Fellow? I think
Fellow?
so.
Sure. Well, that's like when the waitress comes to your table and you have male, females at the table and they go, "Hi, guys, you ready to order?"
Yeah.
Well, guys.
So guys has been used now for both men and
Guys
women.
is all inclusive.
Right. Yeah. So that's the first part of our show, the opening of our show.
Making sure we have everything all organized.
Exactly. We are going to be talking about gardening. And Tiger, you've lined up an interesting guest today.
Well, this is a whole brand new subject. Here at Garden America, we really hit the pavement hard trying to figure out new things. And I'm excited to bring in Irrigreen, a company that is printing water. So we're going to hear more about that later.
They are printing water.
Yes.
All right, that's the tease for today's guest.
And I just want to tease John's quote of the week because it is one of those novels of the week.
Oh, is it like 2 or 3 paragraphs?
Yes. Yeah. But I like who it's written by, Dale Carnegie.
I was going to say, Dale Carnegie. Now, we've had him.
We've had him on the show before?
No, we've had his quotes on the show several times, and usually it's more than just a line or two.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever taken a Dale Carnegie course?
No.
No?
Did you take one?
I've taken a Dale Carnegie course.
I would think you would.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to his hall, John?
Carnegie Hall? No. I think that was Andrew.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes. But you did
And is
take
it Carnegie or Carnegie?
I've always heard Carnegie. I'm sure it can be pronounced either way.
Yeah, I don't know either. I've heard it both
Tell
ways.
us about the seminar, Tiger.
So the one thing that I took away from the seminar that it still stays with me today is we did this exercise and we sat back to back. And the person on one side had a patterned picture, bunch of triangles, squares, circles, all in an organized fashion, different colors, different shades of the colors, different sizes, okay? And the goal was for that person to then describe to the person that had all of those pieces in front of them but scattered about. They were supposed to put it together on the other side, right? Mm-hmm. So it's an exercise in explaining to someone
and communication
in detail. And the thing you got to remember is when you tell someone a triangle, is it the small triangle? Is it the red triangle? Is it the big triangle? Is it the
Bermuda Triangle?
Is it the Bermuda Triangle? Is it a what's it called? Equilateral triangle? All of that stuff, right? And so it really taught you how to be specific in your directions when you're addressing people. To that way, you ensure that they will be successful in achieving what you want done, right?
So detail is the big thing that you took out of there.
Yeah, and I was like, I never even thought about it because, as a manager, as a communicator, you tell people, go over there and move that pile of dirt over here, and you just think they're going to know what you want done.
It's assuming that people are thinking the way you are.
Exactly.
So that when you use certain words, they're automatically going to know what you're talking about, when in most cases, that's not the case.
Right.
Well, you said go over there and sweep it, but I've got it. Do you want me to move all the plants out of the way before I sweep it?
Right.
That would be the first question.
Right.
So you would say, I need you to sweep that part of the lot, but first of all, move those plants out of the way, and then I want you to go up and shut the door so we don't get dust in the building.
And then move the plants back when you're done.
There you go.
Right. So as detailed as possible.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
Speaking
still
of
back
details,
at the triangles. I've had a preference for isosceles triangles.
Do you like parallelograms?
I can take them or leave them.
Right.
Trapezoids, though.
Oh,
That's
boy.
a whole nother topic.
That's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Why don't we do the quote since Tiger made fun of it?
Dale Carnegie, ladies and gentlemen. John, in great detail, the quote, please.
He said, "One of the most tragic things I know about human nature is that all of us tend to put off living. We're all dreaming of some magical rose garden over the horizon instead of enjoying the roses that are blooming outside our windows today."
True.
Got to go along with that.
Yeah. Very
And see,
true.
I didn't think that was too long.
Well, you know why? It's not too long if it's a great quote.
You know, you took a Dale Carnegie course. I would bet you also did Toastmasters.
Yes, I did.
See?
My dad did Toastmasters. He was in the Lions Club and the
Did he?
Toastmasters.
Yeah.
And the Toastmasters helps you, speak in front of people, right?
Yeah, it's a public speaking.
Public speaking. Because it's interesting. They took I guess this goes back a long way. I think even Seinfeld addressed it one time. The two biggest fears in life were death and speaking in front of people. But
Yeah.
speaking in front of people,
Yeah.
even more than death.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's still, like they say, it's the biggest fear that everybody
If
has.
you know what you're talking about, it's a lot easier.
Some people, even when they know what they're talking about, freeze up. It's shocking, right? Because if this is what you did, if this is what you are, and this goes for scientists. I mean, John, you've worked with a lot of people that are scientists because, working with breeding roses and things like that. Sometimes they can never communicate to you what they're doing or what they want to do because their minds, I just feel, work like a little different, where they just ones and twos and dots, they make perfect sense of it. But then to explain that to someone else,
Well, they're on a different level than the general public to a great degree. Now, the biggest crowd I ever spoke in front of, and it wasn't very long, was 13,000 people.
and what was that?
In
When
an
you're
arena.
introducing a band?
It was in an arena introducing a band, but I was out there for a couple of 2 or 3 minutes, welcoming them. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Got a great show lined up tonight. One of those, let's hear it. All you have to hear is that first applause. Like when you're speaking in front of people, you're looking for that acceptance. It's like a comedian.
Yeah.
When he gets the first laugh, boom, you're on your way. It's that initial acceptance and like, okay, I'm good now. They're on my side. I can go forward.
But you have, I guess, standing in front of people and speaking is what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah,
'Cause
because
you
right now
have-
you're talking to millions of people, but they're not
But
here.
They're not in the same room.
But no,
Right.
but even then, you have been to what's the SDSU arena?
Okay, I'll go. You know what? I take it back. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to would be 75,000 people.
Right.
At the stadium
Right.
for Holiday Bowls.
Correct.
Now, the reason I say 75,000, the Aztecs never drew 75,000.
But the Holiday Bowl
Bowl, and when you make a mistake, see, this is the one thing I tell people. When you're on the radio, you can make a mistake. They're not there at the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So unless you want to correct it, it's a huge mistake. You just move on. But when you make a mistake in front of a crowd, well, look, they're seeing the same thing you are. Well, what do you mean it was a penalty? That wasn't a penalty.
Yeah.
So there are ways of getting around it, Check that. The official call would be referee signals this. So it's like, oh, he didn't make a mistake necessarily. He was only going by what the referee had initially said.
I think the biggest crowd I ever spoke to was about 500 or 600.
Gee.
Yeah, but see, the more intimate sometimes,
Yeah, that's scary
the
too.
more intimidating,
Yep.
I wasn't intimidated. It was only, I think it was a 45-minute talk, but it was Friends of Balboa Park.
Oh.
Well, then you had friends there.
Yeah.
There's no problem, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was friendly.
The only intimidating thing about it was that preparing for this, everything was scheduled, and they made a big point of mentioning to me how the speaker they had the year before was horrible because he was supposed to start at 1:10 and he started at 1:12.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness.
and that
They
made him
fired him.
terrible?
Oh
fired
yeah,
him.
Well, wait
yeah,
a minute,
because he was off schedule, and then he went like 3 minutes over. It's
Oh
like-
goodness gracious.
So it wasn't the content of what he was talking about?
No.
John's sweating bullets there to start on time and end on time.
And then I had to do a PowerPoint, and where I was standing, I could not see the screen.
You go to bed late at night.
It was
How much sleep do you get?
tonight.
No, I'm just mean in general. You get tired?
Oh yeah, I'm going to be tired on the way home today.
Do you miss having somebody tucking you in at night?
That'd be nice.
No, the weather's warmer, and you don't really need to be tucked in.
I kind of miss it.
And my feet get hot at night now, so I got to stick them out.
Is it time for break?
So Hotfoot. Look
Are
at
we-
Tiger's looking at the clock. Actually, we've got about a minute.
Oh,
We should
okay.
do a gardening show today.
Yeah.
Why don't we do a gardening show? And by the way, let's start paying attention to the people on Facebook talking about the weather between each other.
Oh.
We do see it. Yes, we do.
I wonder how many people out there started their gardens last weekend. We talked about it on the show, Mother's Day
Mother's
weekend,
Day.
East Coast, all those people
So we'll
there
talk
ready
about
to
that.
go.
But on the other side, after the break, we have to bring our guest on, Laura.
Yeah,
We're
Laura
gonna talk
McRoberts
about
from Irrigreen.
printing water.
Exactly.
So do stay with us. Those on Facebook Live, those on BizTalk Radio, thank you so much for tuning in this morning. This is Garden America. Believe it or not, we cover many topics.
Got to tell you about a text my brother sent when we come back.
Beautiful. Love it. Here on Garden America. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show. We are Garden America. You are who you are. We thank those on BizTalk Radio supporting our sponsors. Fertilome, of course, one of our major sponsors, and Mosquito Dunks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being part of our show on BizTalk Radio, Facebook Live. Everything out of the way. John, quickly, you want to share a text?
Yeah, my brother sent me a text that he said, this is pure Michigan. At 2:55 in Elk Rapids, Michigan, where he lives, from Monday 12 a.m. until Monday 7 a.m., freeze warning.
Really?
In May.
Yeah, after Mother's Day.
After Mother's Day.
Right. And then also at the same time popped up fire weather watch. In effect, Elk Rapids. So you got freeze warning and fire weather watches.
And nothing in between.
Right.
Nothing in between.
Hell freezes over there, so it's happening.
Absolutely.
It's happening.
Well, let's print some water, shall we, Tiger?
Yeah, so this morning we have joining us Laura McRoberts, the Vice President of Sales over there at Irrigreen. Good morning, Laura. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really excited to talk about this. I'm sure it's brand new to a lot of our listeners, this idea, this concept, this technology that Irrigreen is creating when it comes to irrigation systems. But first, let's talk a little bit about you and your background. How did you get involved with Irrigreen?
Well, I have in my career spent most of my career in the home industry. In my career, I've worked for Pella Windows and Doors. I've worked for Sleep Number in the connected home space. And, I met the team at Irrigreen last fall, and I was just really impressed with this product and this team and this concept. And for me personally, it was about the opportunity to be involved in a really cool product and a really great team, but also the opportunity to be a part of a mission that I think is really important in terms of the water conservation that we can do and that we need to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing because here being in Southern California, water conservation is not a new thing to us. I feel like ever since I was a child, I've been told to conserve water.
Save water, turn the sink off.
Exactly. But other parts of the country, it could be kind of a new thing. And also in some parts of the country, they're starting to witness different changes in their climate that, we do have to start watering. So I was up in Portland a couple years back, and I was just shocked that their yards didn't have a sprinkler system at all. They just relied on, the natural rainwater up there. But I could see that in the summertime, things dried out. It was difficult, and a sprinkler system would benefit them if they had one. So I feel like this product that Irrigreen is putting out is, just in time for a lot of people. And since they're getting to learn it from the ground up because it's kind of new compared to normal sprinklers, right?
Yes. We have been around for a number of years, but really invested in our sales and marketing strategy the last few years. And, I think as you think about the irrigation industry, the fact that I think is really, really powerful, 8 billion, with a B, 8 billion gallons of water per day are used in outdoor irrigation. But there hasn't been much change in technology from conventional irrigation systems to help address that. So that is really a motivating factor for us at Irrigreen to really be able to address the amount of overspray and water that's lost to evaporation, and address just the sheer amount of water that we can conserve, because it's the outdoor use that really is the bulk of the water use in the U.S. on the daily basis.
Definitely. And so let's do your best attempt, Laura. I'm going to share a video into the Facebook chat right now, because I think obviously images do a great job, but can you do your best description of what the Irrigreen sprinkler system is
and how it saves water?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were founded with technology. Our founder developed this technology based on his breadth of experience in the inkjet printing industry. And so, he was having a moment in the backyard where he was watering and struggling with his own water usage, but yet thinking about his career and his profession. And every day he's working to make liquid form tiny letters on paper. And hence the idea for Irrigreen was born, just in terms of the complete redesign of how we think of an irrigation sprinkler head, and using that inkjet printing technology to really precisely place water slowly and exactly on the turf or on the grass, to really ensure that we aren't wasting water, we aren't overspraying, we're not, we can hit the exact edge of the exact shape that your lawn needs. And proven versus a conventional system to use 40 to 50% less water, because we are printing it, and that's where that phrase comes from. We're printing that water on the grass. The other really unique thing about Irrigreen is that we are measuring the amount of precipitation and the amount of moisture that your lawn needs. Most conventional systems today are measuring time. You're setting your system to Wednesdays for 20 minutes. But with Irrigreen, we're using connected weather data and a 7-day rolling precipitation average to make sure that your lawn gets the amount of moisture that it needs. So it is completely precipitation-based, not time-based. And when you couple that with how precisely this nozzle works to rotate through the lawn in the exact shape, you're minimizing overspray, you're minimizing evaporation. And one simple Irrigreen sprinkler head, it's not a simple sprinkler head, but one simple design and installation can cover up to 2,000 square feet. So as you watch this video, as your listeners watch, they're going to notice that it's a center zone sprinkler head that's rotating 360 degrees versus conventional systems with lots of mechanical heads at all the edges that are spraying inward. This is one sprinkler head. It's a digital sprinkler head at the center of the zone that can cover up to 2,000 square feet.
Now,
and go ahead.
Now, so, you talked about all these sprinklers that are going to get replaced by this one head. It just blows my mind that it could, how does it get programmed to be so exact?
Yeah, so a lot of conventional irrigation systems can use a smart controller. We're using a smart connected controller, but also a digital smart sprinkler head. And so we are leveraging technology and connected weather data for that precision. But you'll also notice, as your listeners play this video, you'll notice that it's a very unique nozzle design. It's 14 individual streams that are placing water out as far as 30 feet at the top furthest throw, and then right there around that sprinkler head at the shortest. And we're using those 14 streams, that unique nozzle, to cover that kind of space in a uniform way without having to overspray certain areas to get the coverage that we need.
Hey, Laura. Oh, great. We're going to take a quick little break. just for commercials. And then when we come back, we're going to continue chatting with the Vice President of Sales over there at Irrigreen, Laura McRoberts.
And again, questions, comments for Laura, please, by all means. This is a great system, something I think that most everybody could use if you have a lawn or at least the kind of property that this would work well with. So again, on Facebook Live, questions, comments for Laura. As we continue, those on Biz Talk Radio, we're going to take a break. Back after these messages. Thank you for tuning in. This is Garden America. We have returned from the break. Thank you so much for tuning in to Garden America each and every week here as we continue. Our guest is Laura, and Laura has some great information about a not really new tiger, but I think technology-wise, this would be new to most people listening or watching.
Yeah, and I love the description that they use about printing water, because that's really what it is when you look at your landscape that you're watering with a sprinkler, it's got all kinds of curves and shapes and ins and outs. And with one sprinkler, it modifies the stream of that sprinkler to go a little farther, go a little less farther, maybe have a little bit of less water in this area because it's nice and tight and we don't want to flood one area. Now, Laura, the thing that I'm also impressed with is because it's a stream of water, there's a lot less misting that occurs, which means less evaporation. More water is going into the ground. But unlike more conventional large stream sprinklers, there's not the overspray or the waste that's also created. How long did it take you guys to develop this sprinkler? You said they've been doing it for a number of years. I mean, from the start of this to where they are now, how many years have they been working on it?
Yeah, it's been definitely a huge commitment and project for our founder, and he started this in 2010.
Oh, wow.
So it's been in development, various prototypes. You know, we have a really cool bookcase in the office of all the various prototypes over the years and just really continued to perfect this product and develop it along the way. But it's been his baby for over 10 years.
Hey, Laura, quick question, and this may be obvious. Could we also substitute the word printing for mapping? You're actually mapping your lawn or area?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think when you couple printing is really the concept I think that resonates for how slowly and precisely the water is placed on the ground instead of being sprayed, which is key to that, minimizing the evaporation and the overspray. But when you talk about mapping and you think about, we have an app that enables you to program each zone to the exact shape, the curves, the edges, the cut-ins that you need for your lawn. And you can easily reprogram that zone should you plant a tree or change the shape of your edging or something like that. And when you map it, when you think about mapping, I really connect that to how our app and our zone mapping works so easily for you to create, a really unique or exact shape and to change it over time, mapping out that zone.
You know what amazes me is that someone would take 10 years of their life to work on something like this and think they would make money doing it. Well, I mean, really, it's a sprinkler. I'm going to spend 10 years developing a sprinkler, and the commitment and motivation that requires. We had talked earlier in the show about how you just have to love what you're doing.
Yeah.
And, Brian says, if you know what you're talking about, you're not afraid to talk about it in front of people. And I really admire somebody that can do this and have that commitment, because you guys know I've never understood irrigation. and I'm just amazed by this sprinkler.
Well, let me ask you this along with what John says, Laura. Going back to 2010, the technology you're using today, I would imagine it wasn't available back in 2010. This had to be rolled out slowly as more technology became available. Is that fair to say?
I think that is fair to say, right? I mean, for Gary Kleinfelter, our founder, it is a labor of love and commitment that, I appreciate that you guys recognize that, and I know he would too. and yet also software, and we didn't think
Right.
of apps like
Yeah.
we do today back in 2010. And so that evolution has certainly greatly accelerated this product. And then we were fortunate in the last year to really be backed by some great venture capital firms who see the opportunity to invest in climate technology and water conservation technology. And that really helped us to accelerate our marketing and sales and product development efforts.
And we have a question from one of our Facebook viewers and listeners, Laura. And the question is, I wonder how difficult it is to use, especially for the digital or digitally challenged.
Yeah, great question. So 2 things I would share. One of the awesome things about Irrigreen is the simplicity of the design and the use. And we actually find, and we're probably the only irrigation system, in-ground irrigation system, that is very DIY friendly. And that is really for 2 key reasons. One, because it is one sprinkler head per zone, it is one trench and one line. You're not trenching every edge of your yard. You're not programming and splicing cable. We have a plug-and-play cable system and one simple trench through your yard that actually about 60% of our customers install the entire system themselves in the ground. And then in terms of app digital ease of use, if you can operate any of the apps on your phone today, you can easily program an Irrigreen zone. I was at an installation this week in Florida, and we programmed 9 zones in about an hour.
Wow.
Oh, I knew there was a catch.
Um,
I'm going to have to learn how to use an app.
and
It's like a drop. You drop a dot on the screen where you want the water to hit, and then you drop the next dot and the next dot, and you're just creating a connect the dots on the screen, and it's that simple.
oh, wow. Now, I love the change that you guys have made to also the approach of time, water, all of that, where you guys actually you adjust the sprinklers based on how much water they want in an area. Meaning, if you want a half an inch of water in this area, this is what you program, and then the sprinkler just knows how to drop that half an inch of water in this area. Because I feel like one of the things that's lost with people with irrigation systems, they just 3 days a week for 10 minutes. They don't know how much water they're actually using for that time frame. And so now you guys are actually putting a number with these zones. So they know they're watering, and they know they're using 100 gallons, 200 gallons. You said that stat in the beginning of the program. What was it, 8 billion gallons of water?
8 billion.
Yeah. So, I mean, imagine if you're sitting there programming your sprinkler and you're like, oh, I'm using 300 gallons every week. I wonder if there's a way what if I cut it down to 250 and then my yard looks the same? What if I cut it down to 200 and it still looks the same? It's still doing as good. Wow, I was wasting 100 gallons every week because my yard still looks the same. It still looks just as good, but now I've decreased it by, 10%, 20%, whatever it needs to be. I think that's something that would really connect with people when they're programming this. Do you see that?
We do. In fact, I think it's really eye-opening for people just when we talk about the amount of water that's used in outdoor settings. And for all of the efforts that we've made in terms of, low-flow shower heads or, other plumbing within the home, it's actually the water used outside that is our biggest opportunity from a conservation standpoint. And, with Irrigreen, every time we design a system, we have a quoting tool that is enabled by Google Earth, and we're able to virtually map out your yard and virtually place your sprinkler heads and calculate square footage and water usage and tell you exactly how many gallons per year you would save with an Irrigreen system versus a conventional system. And for most customers, that's over 100,000 gallons a year in their outdoor watering, which can be anywhere from, depending on what you're paying for water, it can be anywhere from $800 to $1,000 a year in water cost savings.
Yeah, that's a lot. The other thing I wanted to ask you about with this technology is it seems like it's going to cost a lot. It seems like, wow, if we're talking about a computer, we're talking about a smart sprinkler, man, what is this going to cost me? But as you mentioned, it's also in coordination with the simplicity of the installation. You're not having to install hundreds of thousands of feet of piping for your sprinklers. You're not having to install 20 or 30 sprinkler heads for the same area. It's one sprinkler head and, one section of pipe. So do you see a balance there for people to install it? And you say people can install it themselves, right?
Yes, about over half of our customers do DIY install, which because it's so simple to do, they're able to do that. It's very DIY friendly. And that can save you on, what is the bulk of the cost today with irrigation systems in terms of the labor. From a cost perspective, it is a different kind of investment in terms of the technology and the water savings. Our, controller, our main, the brains of the system, and one sprinkler head, which would cover about 2,000 square feet, is going to be at an entry price, a base price of about $1,900. But then from there, you're in the game and you can add additional sprinkler heads. And keep in mind, each one of those sprinkler heads is going to cover up to 2,000 square feet. Each additional head is around $300 to $400, depending on which model you choose. And so, we find the average yard is about 5 or 6 zones across the country for an average system. And that would be about a $3,000 investment.
Hey, Laura, I'm going to cut you off right there because it seems like a good spot. And we got to take a pause for a little break. When we get back, we'll finish chatting with Laura McRoberts from Irrigreen.
Yes, and those on Biz Talk Radio, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to take a quick break. And those on Facebook Live, questions, comments, returning even faster. This is Garden America. Happy weekend to you. Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. Back after these messages for our good friends and great supporters on Biz Talk Radio. And we are back. It is Garden America. And again, we thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting our program, Garden America, each and every week. And we try to bring you as much as we can, some of the latest technologies in our industry like we are today, Tiger.
Yeah, and so we're chatting with Laura McRoberts, the Vice President of Sales at Irrigreen. And
the VP.
The VP, yeah. But before the break, she was just breaking down some of the costs that the system is that has with it. Now, Laura, you break it down, and if somebody's installing a new system, so they have a new yard and they're installing these sprinklers from the ground up, this is right in line with what they would have been paying anyways. So it's almost like no real difference. It's a wash, except that you're going to get a much more efficient, a little easier to use, and maybe less adjustable. Because I know for a fact, because I work with sprinkler systems all the time, that I'll go out and adjust sprinkler heads for a lawn area, Laura, and I'll go out 3 or 4 days later, and it seems like I got to readjust them. So they're constantly coming out of efficiency by little changes. Sometimes they get clogged up. Sometimes the little head moves itself and it's redirected. So I imagine this system pretty much stays the way you program it for a long period of time. Am I right?
Absolutely. And, we're also putting that sprinkler head at the center of the zone, so much less susceptible to damage. Think of where those mechanical heads are today in a conventional system. They're on sidewalks, they're on driveways, and the risk to damage is just greater. So we're a little more protected in the center of that turf area. We're easily able to adjust and reprogram. And typically with the water savings that you would experience, it is, if you're installing it yourself, yes, absolutely comparable to a conventional system installed. But again, most average yard sizes are going to pay for themselves in water savings in 2 to 4 years in terms of that investment. So maybe a little more upfront, but the only system that's actually going to give you a water cost savings in the long run.
We have a question that came across too, that can this system be used in addition to a drip system?
Does it replace a drip system?
Does it replace a drip system?
You can hybrid the system. So the Irrigreen system has, in our standard controller, you've got room for 16 Irrigreen zones, and then you would also have room in that same controller for up to 12 mechanical or drip zones. So if there are some places in your yard or garden where you wanted to keep drip, you wanted to keep some spray, you can do that all within the Irrigreen controller.
Does the system measure water pressure?
It does require at least 40 to 60 psi. So we're going to want consistent pressure and consistent flow up to, making sure that we've got good water pressure. If you're on a well, we would want, a filter and probably a constant pressure pump. So you need to have a consistent pressure and flow to get great use out of the system.
I was thinking, you just mentioned that it can be a hybrid system too, because the Irrigreen system is for the lawn area, not for flower beds, right? So for flower beds, if
you're going to need both.
Yeah, you could work the two together. That would be awesome.
And also,
yeah, you could do that. You could spray. Some people do choose to spray into maybe a perennial garden or something like that, where they don't need the spot watering. Or to some tree edges. But you can decide where you want that edge to be, and if you want the system to spray into that edging or garden bed, or if you want to run some drip there on one system.
Because my other question is I think I love the sprinkler. I think it's an amazing product. But at the same time, what would be the smallest bed that you would put this in? Because this, I know for people, they have some beds against their homes, and it's maybe 3 or 4 feet wide by 10 feet long. Could this sprinkler be used there, or what's the smallest bed that you think that somebody would use this for?
Yeah, we would want at least 5 feet to make sure that we're getting enough pressure up into that nozzle and to be able to throw at least 5 feet. That's kind of our minimum.
Okay.
So if you take that out, let's say it's a 10-foot diameter, I would say anything in the 10 to 15-foot diameter would be really kind of the minimum. But we want that sprinkler head to start up with at least 5 feet of throw.
And could you put it at the edge of a rectangle bed and then have it shoot in and, go 5 feet in as well?
Yeah, so you could put it, maybe on the edge and do kind of a 180 fan to set, to spray kind of into the zone.
Yeah,
that's really cool. It seems like a pretty versatile thing.
And when you set this up, Laura, you're watering a certain area, but within that area, suppose I want less water in a particular area, but then as it continues, I want more water here or there. Obviously, that can be set up as well?
It can, based on the zone. So you can set a schedule to run, certain days or certain times if that's what you prefer. But many of our customers use our connected water data, weather data, and that's an auto water feature. But even when you're set to auto water, you can go into each zone and say, yeah, but this zone's really sunny, so I'm going to make sure it's 100% of auto water versus this zone is really pretty shady and it needs about 70% of, the water that the other parts of my lawn need. So you can set, those relationships for sun and shade manually by zone.
I love this and I love that you guys are geared towards the homeowner, because a lot of sprinkler systems, and as John sits here, he has, just completely blown away on this from the idea of any irrigation system at all. But
I'm also blown away that I just spent all this money on irrigation that I should have been using this system, I think.
Exactly. But you guys geared direct to the homeowner. So you actually encourage people, and I think the only way that people can get a hold of your product right now is to go to the Irrigreen website and request a quote, right?
Right. We do have more and more contractors within the irrigation industry who are switching to Irrigreen and engaging with us. But our primary connection with the homeowners and the customers is direct. And you can reach out to us on our website, and you can use our quoting tool, our software, to pull up your address on Google Earth and design your own yard. It's actually pretty easy to do, and there's a quick little instructional video and find out exactly what you would need. Or you can schedule an appointment with someone on my team, and we do all that virtually. So it's really convenient to, sit down via Zoom and look at your yard via satellite and map out your system and tell you exactly, what Irrigreen the design would be, what it would cost, and how many gallons per year you would save with this system. So absolutely, you can come to our website and check out your address, and then, map out your yard or meet with someone on the team virtually, and we will help you design it and calculate your water savings.
That's awesome. They have really specialized people over there at Irrigreen that help you out, because I know that's one of the biggest fears for homeowners is, going into a store, asking, what do I install? How do I put this in? And for some reason, I mean, John, you know this too, because whenever we go to supply stores, it just seems like they never want to help anybody. You walk in there and they don't mind selling you the irrigation parts, but at the end of the day, if you were to ask them, hey, I want to put a sprinkler system in this area, how should I do it? Oh, they don't want to help do that. So,
well,
Irrigreen does.
Brian was talking at the beginning of the show about how one of the greatest fears was fear of public speaking. I think that probably third on that list, fear of dying was the other. Probably third might be the fear of seeming stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't want to ask questions because it makes you sound dumb.
Yeah, exactly. So, Laura, we put the website right there on the chat. We'll post it onto our website as well. Drive people over there to take a look at your guys' product. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
All right, thank you, Laura. And again, wow. Now, we have to take a break here real quick. What does this mean for you?
I think it means great. I mean, I think that people are going to be excited about sprinklers again. New, fun little project.
Make sprinklers great again. Okay, with that in mind, we're going to take a break. We've got news coming up on Biz Talk Radio. We're back at 6 minutes after. Hopefully you can catch us. And those on Facebook Live coming right back with your questions, your comments, whatever you want to talk about here on Garden America. We are back, and for those on Biz Talk Radio just tuning in, this is hour number 2. Welcome, one and all. We do appreciate it. If you want to watch and listen to our show live, go to our Facebook page, 6 minutes after the hour on the West Coast, 8:06, 11:06 Eastern Time Zone. You can tune in, interact, watch us live. You can also catch the show on our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio Show. This show will be uploaded early this afternoon. You can go to our YouTube page, like and subscribe, share it with your friends. Watch any show, be it streaming, be it digital, be it Spotify, be it Alexa, be it Google. We are there. We say it every week, but my gosh, how do you not watch or listen to the show, John?
That's a lot.
It's a lot to digest, isn't it?
It is. Hey, I listen. You can tell it's spring because listeners are sending in pictures for the newsletter, and Kevin from Coeur d'Alene.
My buddy Kevin, my high school buddy.
Yeah, Idaho sent us a picture of bridal wreath spirea, which I'll put in next week's newsletter. But
thank you, Kevin.
Bridal wreath spirea was one of those old standby spring shrubs in cold areas. Everybody would have that, or they would have beauty bush, snowball bush.
Bridal wreath spirea?
Yeah, bridal wreath
So if you get pulled over by the police, that's what they want you to recite to make sure that you're not driving
bridal wreath
into
spirea.
it.
Now, there's we don't grow spireas in Southern California because of the short bloom period, but boy, they're really spectacular.
Yeah.
Deutzia was another. Deutzia and Weigela were other common spring flowering shrubs. But it's happening all over the country. Of course, again, unless you live in Elk Rapids, where my brother does, and then you got to worry about freezing.
And fire.
Freezing and
All
fire.
at the same time.
At the same time. Veronica has a question for you, John.
She said, I don't know, is it a question or a comment? She says she had a professor who said there's no dumb questions when I apologize for asking so many. Then he said that he guaranteed at least half the class had the same questions but weren't brave enough to answer.
Veronica hasn't hung out.
Of course that's true.
She hasn't hung out with my son.
I'm sorry, John. Tony's the one that had a question for you prior to
and
Veronica.
also, I taught at Palomar College for a while, and I kind of agree with you, Veronica, but there really are some dumb questions.
Well, you can tell if somebody's not paying attention.
Yeah.
A question.
However, you would never embarrass anybody by saying that's a stupid question.
But a question should be based upon really what you just heard the professor or teacher talk about. If you're tuned out.
Yesterday, I took a walk with my kids to go get frozen yogurt. Okay. And it was a cool afternoon, right? We had gotten frozen yogurt. We're walking back, and Isaac goes,
And Isaac is how old?
he's 8.
He's 8. Okay,
goes,
I think it's
I'm
important.
freezing.
It's 8 going on 12.
Yeah, I'm freezing. Do you think the frozen yogurt made me cold? And I go, and he's just being, I know he knows the answer, and I know but I go, and just to point it out, I go, Isaac, when it's a hot day outside, what do you do? And he goes, drink cold water. And how does that make you feel? Cooler. I go, so if it's a cold day and then you're eating something freezing, what do you think that's going to do? Make you cold? And I go, so you knew the answer.
He knew.
And because right now he's at that point where he's just asking questions to ask questions, I feel.
Tiger is so patient. He's such a good dad, though.
I used to do similar things to Eric when he was young. Like they get to that certain age, 5, 6, 7 years old, they know it all.
Yeah.
So I approached it this way. I would say, okay, so you're 7, right? Yes. So do you think you know more than a 4-year-old? Oh, of course. Do you know more than a 3-year-old? Well, yeah, of course. And how old am I? Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Kind of go down to their level like you did with what they can understand.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get over on you.
Yeah.
They're trying, they're testing you all the time. I remember I told you this story before when I was a kid. I'd want to do something. My folks said, okay, well, we'll see. So I said, well, when are we going to see? What? You said we'll see. When are we going to see? And they're like, you know what? Be quiet.
I imagine Joe is quick. Joe's a quick guy. He's very quick-witted.
Right.
So I imagine that was a challenge as a dad with Joe.
You can see it in kids early on.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. You got that exactly right.
He's just so quick with the comebacks, Joe.
And what about John, cause and effect before he was 6 years old, right?
Yeah, I didn't understand it.
For those that are new to the show, John didn't realize when he did something wrong the ramifications, right? Like, why are you hitting me, or why am I getting punished?
Well, I don't think I was doing things intentionally. Yeah, I would remember my mother saying, whatever you do, don't do this, don't do this. And the next thing I knew, I was getting a spanking because I was doing it.
Because you were doing it and you didn't understand.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't mean to do it.
Oh, did we digress, though? Did we answer Veronica's question?
Isaac is awesome. Isaac is awesome, Veronica said.
Tony in Connecticut, who I met in person in Shreveport at the American Rose Society
John had a little
National
meet and
Convention.
greet going on down there.
She's just as wonderful in person as she is in email.
Nice.
Or Facebook. But anyway, she said she bought Ivona's yellow rose from the auction last year, and she wonders how cold hardy it might be. She has it in a pot in the garage last winter, and she wants to know if she could put it in the ground in Connecticut.
And yes, Connecticut's the key right there.
But I have no idea. First of all, Ivona's yellow is a found rose. Obviously, probably found by someone named Ivona, right?
Yep.
And it's a beautiful rose. Nobody knows exactly what it is yet, so I'm not really sure. It's a hybrid tea, and a lot of those hybrid teas are marginally hardy in cold areas like that. So my guess would be, if I had to guess, is that it probably would be hardy. With heavy mulching for sure. Mm-hmm. But to be absolutely sure, I would probably either root another one or bud one up and then try one in the ground.
Yeah,
and
then you can experiment with the original one.
Right, or give it to a friend.
So in a cold area like that, heavy mulching, are you mulching over the stem?
Right, and the reason you do that is if it freezes to the ground.
Yeah, there's still something.
Right, and a lot of times you'll mulch and then pull the mulch away in the spring. So if you had a real bad winter and the stems froze, they wouldn't freeze below the mulch. So you pull that away, you cut back all the dead stems.
Yeah,
it's real easy pruning in cold climates because you're in Michigan. All you do is prune what's dead.
Yeah, exactly. Now, are there certain classes of roses that are known to be more hardier? If we go through the basics, John, and we say hybrid tea, grandiflora, floribunda, what else is there? I'm trying to think of,
There's the old classes. There's moss rose, hybrid perpetual, tea
but I mean,
rose.
of those
rose.
right there, between like grandiflora, floribunda, hybrid tea, what's the hardier, or it's all different?
Those are pretty much the same because those
Okay.
are modern roses, but there's classes like Gallicas, which are old European roses.
But you probably won't
That-
find those in a garden center.
You won't, especially in Southern California, because they don't bloom in warm weather. They actually need cold weather. But those were the old once blooming roses, from Europe, and they crossed those roses with Asian roses, which were ever blooming, China roses, and that's how they got today's roses,
Okay.
which are large flowers and ever blooming. Some roses are really tender, like teas. Will not grow in cold climates.
Okay.
So when you take a hybrid perpetual and cross it with a tea, you get a hybrid tea.
Right.
And so you have a combination of genes that are not hardy and are hardy.
So it makes it in the middle there.
And so it's kind of in the middle, and it depends on each particular plant. Did it get more of the tea genes, so it's going to be more tender, or did it get more of the European genes, and it's going to be hardier?
I've heard the term hybrid tea more than I have just tea.
Right, but remember that it came because you cross teas and hybrid perpetuals, and you get hybrid tea.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Too. I have, I wish I would have measured it, but I have a rose, an old garden rose that's a hybrid perpetual called Paul Néron, and I'm not going to exaggerate, but the bloom on it was this big.
It's the size of a volleyball.
Almost a foot.
Yeah, it's the size of a volleyball right there.
It's probably
Good visual on Facebook, John, as we watch.
Really?
This is what those on Biz Talk Radio miss.
It was probably, if you're on Biz Talk Radio, you can just go to Garden America Radio Show on Facebook and watch
Absolutely.
it.
Hey, we got to take a break. Hold
Okay.
the thought. When we come back, we'll finish John's thought. And also, Carla has a question for you, John, as well. As we take this time out to take a break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live, keep those questions, those comments coming to us on this weekend. It's a Saturday morning if you're listening or watching us live. If not, it could be any other time of the day here on Garden America. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching us. Garden America is back on the airwaves, both on Facebook Live, Biz Talk Radio. We do appreciate you tuning in. Please visit our website, gardenamerica.com. We love it when you go to our Facebook page, but gardenamerica.com, always changing, always new things happening, and it does help us out and keeps us on the air that much longer. Gardenamerica.com. And Daniel loves it when we give out the website. He'll probably post the link on our Facebook page right now. So thank you, Daniel.
Tiger was mentioning how quick my son was when he was little, and it just popped into my head. I remembered they wanted to go somewhere, and I can't remember what it was. And I said, we'll do that tomorrow. And the next day came, and he came up to me and he said, "Are we going to do such and such?" And I said, "No, we got too much to do." He said, "We'll do it. I'll do it tomorrow." And he goes, "Today is tomorrow."
How old was he?
He was probably like 6 or something.
He's always so quick.
See, that's good. Today is
Always
tomorrow.
quick.
And you were just kind of fluffing him off.
He would always mix his metaphors, though.
Really?
Yeah, like, if you put too much on your plate and you can't finish it, the phrase is that your eyes were bigger than your stomach.
Right.
And, he did that one time because he loved spare ribs, and he put all these spare ribs on his plate, but he couldn't quite finish them. And I said, "Why did you take all those if you weren't going to eat them?" He goes, "Oh, my eyes were bigger than my head."
Yeah.
So he would always mix up things like that.
Mixed metaphors.
Yeah.
Did you answer Carla's question?
Oh, no. Carla said that she liked the article in the newsletter on New Zealand spinach, which is great if you live in a hot weather or during the summer. It's a spinach type green, but takes the hot weather, and the flower buds are edible. The little stems they're really tasty. But she wants to know about growing regular spinach. She's had trouble growing it. Any advice? And she knows it's a winter crop.
Yeah.
The key to some of those winter crops, especially if you're on the coast, is starting them early enough. They need a little bit of warm weather to germinate. And once they've germinated, then they'll grow fine through the winter. and a little bit of fertilizer, especially nitrogen on leafy plants. Lettuces and things really helps them grow.
And then the other thing I tell people too is, with those leafy green plants, is even if you're not using them to, if you're not a big spinach eater and you have this plant that just keeps growing without you harvesting it, it gets yellow, gets a little leggy. It's good to get in there and at least pull out some of that stuff, even if you're not using it, just to keep the plant
So it doesn't
looking.
get old too.
Yeah.
Like old lettuce leaves are tough.
Right.
But young, fresh lettuce leaves are tender.
Are-
So, yeah, if you can't use it, I'll just go through and
Thin
cut
it
it
out.
back a little. And
Yeah.
don't throw it away. You feed your chickens or give
Yeah.
it to your neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be active with it, right? I mean, when you're talking like lettuces, spinach, broccoli, cabbage, if you just leave it thinking like one day you're going to harvest the whole
Right.
thing and eat it, that doesn't happen. So you have to just pull off little by little. And same thing with your basil and, cilantro and herbs as well. Just keep, even if you're not using it, keep harvesting it, share it with the neighbors, freeze it, make something with it that you can store for a minute.
What you're saying is that you don't set it and forget it.
Yeah. Because otherwise it will when you want it, you'll go out there and you'll be like, this looks old and bad.
I like that. Set it and forget it.
Can't do that with
Sounds like the
spinach.
irrigation system we were
Yep.
just talking about.
Exactly.
Hey, I had a question for you, Tiger. Yesterday I went to Grand Jettos in
you can post
Fallbrook.
it on their Facebook page, John.
And I'll get
If I
to
could
it.
Type that out and we'll get to it when we
I
can.
know where he is, and I'm going to ask it right now.
Okay, you go ahead.
Is there more availability of citrus right now?
I feel like there's I don't know what they had at Grangetto's, but
They had all kinds of unusual varieties.
oh yeah.
And more plants than I've seen in a long time. I don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Tried to look on the tag, but a lot of unusual varieties. And I thought, maybe is somebody now shipping in?
What's an example of an unusual variety that?
like a Murcott mandarin?
Yeah, I heard Michelle, our buyer, ordering surprise avocados yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah. So
for our listeners, surprise is SIR,
Yeah.
and the second word is prize, PRIZE.
kind of like surprise,
Yeah.
but surprise.
surprise, right?
But yeah, John, that'd be awesome to find out where Grangetto's got him from, because we have still struggled with Durlings and Laverne. So I don't know if they're getting them from someone else.
Yeah, they had, besides Meyer lemons and Eureka lemons, they had some of the weird varieties of lemons, Lane Late Navels.
Oh.
Just,
Different stuff.
yeah, and I was surprised to see it there because they're mainly a landscape supply place.
Right. Yeah, they do a lot of like the bulk, and they have like irrigation supplies, farm supply, all
Right.
that.
And now my second question. Got to take care of all my gardening needs here with Tiger. I don't know if you're still getting me that roll of
Netafim?
Netafim.
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
Okay, because while I was at Grand Jettos, I saw they carried it, but I wasn't sure what kind you used. I know
Okay.
there's different types, right?
Yeah. The one that we used was the 0.9 gallon per hour and spaced 12 inches apart.
Okay.
Yeah, but
But they're just going to bring that Wednesday?
yep,
Okay.
Wednesday's a
won't worry
big day
about
at the Bagnasco estate.
it is. It
Well,
is.
we're
There's
finally getting our
landscaping
landscape.
going to go in.
My wife
Gonna
is
have-
just bugging the heck out
You know
of me
what I
about
wish?
that
I wish he had
landscape.
a webcam
just
that I could watch, like in the day, just saying, "What's John doing? What's
that's
going
creepy.
on?"
That is creepy.
How about the process of what? Oh, look at that there. That wasn't
What do
there
you think
yesterday.
John's
You know,
process?
you're telling Brian how creepy it is. How creepy is it to get a text on your phone, "I'm looking at you"?
That was true. I was across this canyon at a neighbor's house, and I could see John walking in his backyard.
And you said that.
Yeah, I sent him a text.
see you.
I see you. Wow. And especially since he lives in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to get that text if you're in the middle of a neighborhood surrounded by thousands of people.
Right.
But when your closest neighbor is,
You know what?
know.
You want to really creep him out? Let's go fly a drone over his place.
and just have it hover.
Just hover when he least expects it.
We have drones that go over our
I
place
would
every
imagine.
single day.
Really?
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Like the little like people ones, or like military drones kind
I
of?
think they're military drones, but
Really?
they might also be from SDG&E.
Oh,
They have those
do.
drones that look for
The
fire,
power
lines.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Oh, okay.
I learned something about drones several months ago. Daniel came over. I've got a little drone. He's got Of course, he's a licensed pilot for a drone, and his is much bigger, and having a hard time flying my drone. I'm like, hey, can you help me out here? And he futzed with it. He goes, the cheaper ones are the hard ones to fly.
Yeah.
The more expensive ones do everything on their own, basically. You set it and forget it, as we just mentioned. I was like, really? He goes, yeah, yours takes a lot to get going. It was, we'd lose track of it. It would go over the wall, into a pool, and you can't. I mean, it just takes more to fly it.
My son's got me drones for Christmas one year and went out in the backyard to try it. I was fooling around with the controllers. Zip, it just took off, never came back.
Never saw it.
Yeah, I have no idea where it went.
Whereas the really good ones, like if you're on a bike ride, you can set it to be behind you,
and they'll just
ride your bike.
you.
It'll just follow you around, and it'll avoid trees, and it knows to go around that corner,
take a video of you?
over the tree, under the tree.
Wow.
So,
yeah, they're amazing.
John is a private guy. He'd never go for that.
Yeah, that is true.
See, Carolyn says, I like Brian's wish for a webcam to watch the work at John's house.
Oh, I wouldn't mind that. I'm a little bit of an exhibitionist at times.
Oh, so maybe
Especially if it's gardening. In a gardening, I don't mind people
you
watching
don't mind
me
exhibiting
garden.
yourself as it pertains to gardening.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't.
Hey,
Oh,
how'd
you know
the,
what? We got to take a break.
Okay.
I'm 20 seconds over. Goodness gracious.
When we get back,
Brian
I
would
want to ask
say,
him
hold
about
that
the
thought.
Hold that thought.
magic dogwood.
Okay, back after these so-called messages on Biz Talk Radio. And just like that, if you're tuned in to Facebook Live, that didn't take long, did it? We hope you had a good break. Those on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. What about dogwood?
Well, John's magic dogwood, because he was moving it, struggled, right? How's it doing now?
I'll put it this way. If it survives, I'm going to change the name to Miracle Dogwood.
The last we spoke, it was dying, right?
Yeah, it doesn't look good. Now, yesterday I took some HB 101
There you go.
and some kind of plant therapy voodoo stuff and put it in a watering
Therapy
can.
voodoo.
And
It just comes in a black bottle.
sprinkled it all over the stems, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool ongoing project, though, right?
I don't know.
What do you call it? Cool.
That reminds me, though, about speaking of voodoo stuff. There's Fox Farms has some organic liquid fertilizers, and I won't mention the store I was in, but I looked at the cost, and I think for a quart, usually a quart of liquid fertilizer today would be what, like $7.99,
Yeah.
$8.99.
Mm-hmm.
This was like $34.
What's in it? Liquid gold?
I don't
Does
know,
it-
but they're
The
like
heck?
Gold
you probably
flakes?
know the line. It's like Grow Big and Tiger Bloom.
Tiger Bloom.
And
Yeah, all those ones.
Are they that much?
They're expensive. Yeah, they're expensive.
Wow.
I don't get it, but yeah, they're pricey. They put some good juju.
You don't
juice
take
in
credit
there.
for Tiger Bloom, do you?
Nope. Don't take credit for that.
Stay
one.
honest.
Yeah. But there's a lot of liquid fertilizers coming out, and the basis of liquid fertilizers versus the granular fertilizers just a little bit more instant gratification, being able to directly apply it to either the foliage, like you apply it to the stems, you didn't just apply it into the roots,
Right.
because you were encouraging hopefully the stems absorb it, some growth.
And then you water it in right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which
And usually that doesn't happen with organics.
Right.
It's usually chemical, like Miracle Grow type things that do that. So with organics, to get quick response like that, I guess maybe it's more difficult to make products like that.
Yeah, it must be, because some of those are pretty pricey. But there's a lot of different brands coming out with liquid organic fertilizer blends. I think the way I kind of use them is when I want that like shot of growth to occur, a little bit more instant than like a Miracle
gratification.
Grow or Osmocode or something. You're just trying to get that plant to perk up a little bit sooner than later, and they seem to work pretty well. Kelp based, fish emulsion based.
Are you carrying HB 101? Speaking of,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, the liquid fertilizers are good. Be careful though. I don't think the Fox Farm ones are, but some of them, like we've talked about before, can be pretty stinky. So
Yeah.
gotta be careful.
Biosol.
Oh,
So just fish
Biosalt's
emulsion.
not a
and-
liquid, but
No,
yeah,
fish
but,
emulsion.
but stinky stuff.
I remember I got a call from a customer one time. My crew had applied fish on per my directions, and it was totally correct in what they did. They applied fish emulsion to an area, and we had told the customer it's going to smell for a day or so, and they're like, "Okay." Well, 3 days later, they called me like, "It still smells. Is it going to go away?" I was like, "Yes."
Tiger's answer was, "Yeah, I know. We gave you the good stuff at the same
Yeah,
price."
exactly. You're
well, you
welcome.
know the scary part about that is all of today's fish fertilizers are deodorized, and they still smell
Still
like
smell.
that.
Yeah.
I remember in Michigan working at Frank's Nursery.
Oh, I love the Frank's Nursery
Yeah,
story.
Frank's
stories.
Nursery Stories. A friend of mine who was upset with another friend of ours to get even with them took fish emulsion. And back then it was not deodorized.
Oh, like still like fish heads in it.
And put it in the heater in his car.
Oh goodness.
And this is the middle of winter.
Oh,
when
so
it's
bad.
10 below zero outside, you can't drive in your car without turning the heater on.
Sounds like something a mafia would do.
That is horrible.
It was
horrible.
It was a nasty thing to do.
My mother told me a story years ago. You know the heaters, the floor heaters I used to have
Yeah.
in the
In
buildings?
cars or houses?
No, in houses.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had
And-
the little vents that would
Right.
blow the
And
hot air up.
She talked about somebody putting Limburger cheese
Ugh.
in on top or around it, and then would turn the heater on, and they couldn't get the smell out.
No, it goes into the cloth.
It goes into everything.
everything.
Wow.
I remember one time when I was a kid, and it might have been me, it might have been my parents just on accident, but we'd gone out to eat, and then they'd left the leftovers in the car, and it was fish.
Well, the next day, overnight.
Yeah, overnight, and then I think even into the next day, and then it was like every time we got in that car, it smelled like fish, and they got it deodorized and air fresheners, and it just got into the cloth. That odor.
That was like the old Seinfeld episode where he dropped his BMW off for the valet,
Yeah.
and they got back in the car, him and Elaine. The smell. He goes, "I think that's BO," and they couldn't get it out of the car. He eventually, the same thing, washed it, deodorized it. They eventually, he just
Had a
I'm gonna
life
sell
of its own.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell the car.
Hey, shout out to Eureka,
all right.
to our friend Kathy.
Kathy?
Yeah.
Kathy said, "Hi, y'all."
Yeah. Hey, say hey to Mama and him. There was, I think I saw it on Facebook, a picture of Kathy planting potatoes.
What?
And that surprises you? Why?
Well,
mean,
they Hank
that her norm?
hitches up their mule, I think, and they have a huge garden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love seeing pictures of their garden.
Yeah, and I think she was planting a row of potatoes. But I mean, you know, we plant a little.
Yeah, I'll plant two.
Yeah, little area. We're all proud of our little area.
Yeah,
Right.
She's planting 25,
Yeah.
30, 40. Yeah,
Yeah, I hope all is well up in Eureka.
yeah.
Yes.
Things
Thank
should
you
be
for.
warming up there, I would think.
We thank you for
Reading
tuning in.
especially too, those areas. But Reading's had some weird weather. They've gotten up to near 100 and then down to freezing. And
By the way, your
rain.
mom said, Tiger. I'm sorry, John. It was a week of leftover salad.
Oh yeah, yeah. At my
Gross.
house.
Leftover salad.
Oh, is that what it was
Yeah.
that she was talking about? Was
a
in the
week
car?
of leftover salad.
Oh, that's gross. Yeah, terrible.
you know, I keep losing the show, and now I'm afraid if I push the play button,
Push it. Let's see what
on
happens.
a
It's
video-
okay. We're not in the middle of an interview right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's fine.
If your volume's down on the
yeah,
phone,
the volume is
I've
down.
got the
Push-
volume down.
Push the play. Do it, John.
All right, okay.
go. You go for it.
See, boom.
You're fine.
See, nothing.
Now here's what he has.
Look at that.
Here's what's going to happen. He's after the show. He's going to forget the volume's down.
And now
He's
gonna
not
be
going to
watching
hear phone
videos.
calls or texts or anything, and he's
Yeah,
going to watch
gonna be
a
watching
video.
videos. He can't figure out how
There's
to
no
get it to play
sound.
sound.
But see, then I don't know what I press here to get the.
No, you push the X, and then you click on the comments. Up on the top left corner, X. Okay, and then in the middle, the comment one.
In the
In
middle.
the middle, underneath the video. That one. It says 46.
Oh,
Boom. See?
And all of this
And I'll
on
send-
the air live.
I'll send you the bill for tech support
who
later.
says you can't teach an old dog new
Yeah,
tricks?
see?
This guy, because I've showed you that 4 times already.
Now it's going backwards.
Oh.
Start up there.
So,
Okay, Carla says that she has wet cottonseed meal,
Oh,
and it's the worst.
that is bad too.
She has to wait till the rest of the family's out before she applies it to her garden. Cottonseed meal is a great fertilizer for
Excellent.
Southern California, though, because of our alkaline soils.
You use it a lot. You're a big proponent.
I used to use it a lot. I don't anymore.
backing off
We
a
use
little
it a
bit?
lot. We use it a lot in the nursery. That's what we fertilize. We fertilize our plants with cottonseed meal, milorganite, like a blend of milorganite and some grow power. That's what we do for our like nursery fertilization.
I bought from the San Diego Rose Society. They have a sale every spring or every winter, and you can order plants or fertilizers from Growmore. And I think it's called, is it BioStart? Bio something comes in,
From Growmore?
50-pound bags or 40-pound bags. And that smells quite a bit. But I'll tell you, the roses that I've put it on are showing unbelievable growth rates.
Hey,
And what is it you applied?
I think it's called,
it's from Growmore, huh?
yeah.
I don't know.
But I've never seen it sold anywhere else.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's something they put up special.
Yeah.
I'll have to check.
Next weekend, I won't be around.
You
Yeah.
will? Where are you going to be?
I've
Oh, that's
gotta
right.
go.
We're off. By the way,
Yeah.
quick heads up. We are off next week.
Right.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yep. But I did see the Plumeria Society is having their plant sale.
Next weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, that's a
you went
cutting
last-
sale,
yeah.
right?
Yep. You went last year, right?
Not to the cutting sale. I went
you
to
went
the
to the-
plant sale.
Okay, no. Next weekend is the cutting sale.
Okay.
Okay, it is break time. We have one more segment. One more. Time for questions, comments, whatever, on Facebook. And those on BizTalk Radio. Going to be wrapping things up. One more segment. Do stay with us. Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox here on Garden America. Hey, gang, we've made it. The final segment. Should be a round of applause.
Yeah.
Yay, final segment. We made it. Okay.
We need little tidbits. Like,
You want
for
little
instance, like when
sound effects?
John talks
Get
about
the tidbits in the cracker aisle, I think, at Albertsons.
when John talks about his days at Frank's, we should have a specific audio that goes to
Oh, yeah.
like that gets played. You know, and it'd
Yeah,
be
it's
like,
like a
it'll
little
be like an
sounder.
old Frank's commercial jingle, and we'll play it. And
Frank's
then
Nursery or something like an old radio.
I wonder if they used to have a jingle. I can't remember.
is that what you do? Is that what you do for your commercials when
No,
you
I-
have like Frank's tree?
I have a sound effect that's more legitimate than me doing this.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh.
Elliot Ness and the boys. Some guy from the 40s.
Everybody. That is so funny that there are generational sounds.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like
yeah.
there are people, and they hired those people based on they sounded that way. So therefore,
But that's the way they sounded back then. Now, have you ever heard of Walter Winchell? Back in the 40s, he
Winchell
was a.
Tony?
How would you best describe Walter Winchell? Giving the latest.
Tiger just reached his 40s not that long ago.
What's that?
He just reached his 40s not that long
Right,
ago.
but Walter Winchell was one of those guys that was giving the latest news. Walter Winchell here, and he just had this cadence about him, you know.
Really?
Latest news today, Walter Winchell. You know, guys in the 40s talk like this, you know. And,
Tiger loves his donuts.
Yeah, exactly.
You
That's what
do
I
like
said.
the. Are they
Winchell's
still
donuts
around?
are big.
by the
Winchell
way?
donuts? Oh, yeah. They're becoming more and more popular. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
there's a lot more.
Hey, did you see which? We're so digressing right now.
Yeah, well, it's
But
the last segment.
Did
Anything
you
goes.
did you see who opened up down the street from here?
Yes, Randy's Donuts.
Yeah.
Now, here's what I don't get. Because
Yeah.
I was coming to work early in the morning, probably 6:45.
All right.
There was a line around twice
What is
around
Randy's
the
Donuts?
building.
Donut
Oh, okay,
that's famous
it's a
in LA.
donut.
It's a donut.
Guess what I would do? I'd wait till they're already open.
Yeah.
Then I'd go.
Yeah.
These people standing in line like they're waiting for the Beatles in concert.
Right.
Unbelievable.
I don't get it.
No, up in Portland, they had Voodoo Donuts.
Didn't like that one.
I think they what I don't remember.
They were made special because they were the ones that came out with all those weird donuts, the bacon donut,
Oh, yeah.
the different weird donuts.
and I think they have the holes stuffed with something.
some
They
yeah,
put
they-
something in the
Yeah, they came out. They're neat, but I wasn't a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of waiting in line for anything. So
No, I get it. Yeah.
if it doesn't blow my mind, I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, this
That's
line.
why you hate going to the DMV,
I
right?
do.
You don't have to go to the DMV anymore. Everything's online.
Yeah.
I went to AAA, by the way.
And that's another place to go to avoid the DMV.
Yeah, I went to AAA and got an international driving permit in it took maybe
What did you have,
10 minutes.
what did you have to do?
10, 15 minutes.
They just fill out forms and you pay them, right?
Well, I downloaded the form online and I filled it out, so I brought it in, and the only thing I had to have with me were 2 passport photos.
2?
Right.
They use one and
Yeah.
keep one?
Right. They use one and keep one. And I didn't realize that they would have taken them there, and it would have cost less than it cost me at Postal
They would have
Land.
taken your picture there for the passport?
Yeah, they do they do it right there.
You can get your passport at AAA.
Yeah.
No, just a photo.
I don't know about that, but they do the photos.
Boy, if they could do the passport, that would be great.
No.
Where did we go to get ours? I'm trying to think what we
County
had to,
building.
had to go. Where?
County building.
Yeah.
Well, the post office does it too. Most post offices.
Speaking of waiting in
will
line.
do it. Oh my
All
gosh!
these places have lines.
Don't get me started with the post office. But anyway, I was, I had that with me, and I went there, and I was in and out in 10 minutes. And I thought it was going to be a long time. If you can also do it online. If you do it online, it can be 2 to 3 weeks. So I thought 10 minutes is.
I love through this whole process for an international driver's test that at no point in time did John have to take a driver's test.
No.
You just gave them the
Yeah.
license.
Exactly.
And it's not really a license; it's an international driving permit,
Oh.
So what if
and it's
you're
good for a year.
so what if you're already in Europe and you want to drive a car? You can't, right?
No, if you want to lease a car, you cannot lease a car. If you go to car rentals, you don't have that permit, you can't get one.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were in Italy, we thought of renting a car, and that's when we first found out that there was no way to do it.
When we were all there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we took a train from either Milan to Rome.
We did.
I think we flew into Milan.
It was Milan to Rome.
Yeah.
But what, 45-minute train ride, something like that?
Yeah, which was nice. It was a great train ride.
And then we got to this huge train station. So Dana and I get into this car with this taxi guy. Oh boy, what do you want to go? And we told him. 20 minutes later, we're there. Well, we realized he's taking turns and walk. It was like a tour of Rome. As the meter click, click, click.
Yeah, but was that after lunch? Because they drink a lot of wine during lunch. He probably didn't do it on purpose.
It was after
Yeah.
lunch.
Yeah, that was. You're lucky you got there.
I know. We got there though. It was great. Had this, and then at the bottom of the hotel, underneath this huge spa with the hot tubs and showers.
Fancy.
And it was like Julius Caesar days down there.
Wow.
I think the Italians, more than any other country in Europe, are less likely to speak English. They have an attitude. It's like you should speak Italian if you're in Italy.
I don't blame them.
I remember
Fine.
getting into it. We were going to take a taxi. Might have been the same time. Take a taxi to the hotel, and we got in. And I asked the taxi driver if he spoke English, and he goes, "No, Italiano solo."
Yeah.
And with
That's all
a
he
kind of
speaks.
an attitude. So I go, "Me Italiano poco," and then he laughed, and then we were friends after that.
You know what? What was it? The guy, the French guy that was giving our tour the second time around,
Oh yeah.
the glasses.
What was his name?
But like he said, all you have to do is attempt.
Right.
Try to speak the language.
Yeah, that's what they wanted.
Just try to be.
Yeah.
When in Rome, right? So just try. Make an attempt.
Well, my thought was, especially in Germany, if one of the people we're going to meet with doesn't speak English, I'm just going to use Google.
Yeah.
You can talk into it, and it'll
Yeah.
translate it to German. Play it for the
You have a
person.
translator app on your phone, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
I keep wondering why someone has not invented in Google or somebody just something that you would put over your mouth or like a headset, so that when you spoke in your native language, it would come out.
They
in
do.
the,
They have a device like that. There's
They
a little
do?
device. I've seen advertised, and we're running out of time. But you speak your language, and it comes out in the language that you're trying to
Where is
communicate.
that? I need one of them.
They advertise it all the time. It's one of those things, Order now. Limited supplies. Operators are standing by. It's one
Does
of
it
those things.
translate horticultural terms?
We'll talk about that in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Hey, we have to go. Thank you so much again. We are off next weekend for Memorial Day. We're back the next week, and then John's gone for a couple of weeks. It's a madhouse around here on Garden America. Thank you for tuning in on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you, Facebook Live. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and be safe. We are back here in 2 weeks. Take care. This is, and always will be, Garden America.
Always will.